Hello and welcome to Footy Judgmo, Manchester City. Brilliant comeback. Phil Foden, the superstar, steals the show from everybody. And also, we got other topics for you. Newcastle were robbed. And also, why is Postecoglou and Pochettino, specifically Pochettino, not under pressure? Why nobody's talking about sitting 10th? Why is nobody talking about if you lose the coming couple of games, you'll be bottom half of the table with no pressure, with everybody is sitting in clouds thinking that everything is going to be fantastic. Arsenal today to top the Champions League groups and actually tell everybody that we're here to compete, people. And I'm here with Guni. Savva couldn't make it for an emergency. We apologize for this. Stick with us. We'll give you a brilliant show. Of course, I'm here. Guni is enough. Of course, Guni, absolutely amazing to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us, my man. Appreciate you. And how your morning has been?
As you know, I'm over here on the East Coast, so it's 8 a.m. So it's a little early, but it's always good to be here. It's always good to talk football with you, man. Big up everybody in the chat, most importantly. Hope you're all having a good morning, good day, good evening, wherever you are in the world. And sit back and enjoy the show, man. Me and Mo, we're gonna kill it as usual. So let's get this going.
It's
Oh
not
yeah,
as early as me.
wait, hold on. People them in the chat, you must smash that like button, hit that like button, subscribe if you're new, all of that good stuff.
Almost 100 people right off the bat. People say, hit that like button for us, people. Get us to 50 or 100 likes. I don't need to do a poll. I don't need to show you a tutorial. You know what the like button is underneath your live chat. So do that, please, for me. Goonie, we'll start with Manchester City. I had an argument yesterday with the people, of course. Listen, Phil Foden steals the show, plays behind the forward. Absolutely phenomenal yesterday. And Manchester City comeback was stunning. But should I look at the negative? So let me ask you something. Was Man City perfect? Right? Man City, sorry. The triple winners, they support the best team in the world, of course. Should I be sitting here as a neutral looking at they fell 2-0 behind? Or should I be looking at, well, brilliant comeback, score 3 goals in the second half, Pep Guardiola made the right changes, and Man City fans should be happy and buzzing. What do you think is the right attitude? I don't know how. If I'm a Man City fan, I don't know how to feel. I feel happy for Foden, but also what happened to the defense. I've had somebody tell me Rodri been isolated lately because the attack is super attacking lineup. How should they feel?
Well, if I'm a Manchester City fan, what really matters at the end of the day is that they got the result in the end. You know, they came from behind. It's always difficult to come from behind, especially in a competition like Champions League. But they just show resilience. They just show the resilience that's needed, and to remind everybody why that they are treble winners. Because listen, there's all kinds of adversity that you face on the pitch in football, and how you address it is what will either make you champions or what will break you. And Manchester City, yet again, they pull through with the result that they wanted. However, I think it's more of a concern for Manchester City to really show their squad depth, and it's not as strong as what it was last season. But that's not anything that's really too much their fault. They've got two massive players that have not touched the pitch for a while. Obviously, one of them being John Stones, who has that position. You know, it's quite funny. He steps into that midfield, but also drops into that centre back role, because you know Man City are going with this back three thing, but this time it's a Kanji that's dropping in to make that back four. But then he also plays in that midfield, and for some reason they started Rico Lewis as well a bit further up the pitch. So that just goes to show that Manchester City haven't quite got the players to replace De Bruyne or John Stones. Now, I'm not saying that the players need to be of equal quality to those two players, because it's very difficult to find such players in the world to do so. And if you do, they're going to be costing ridiculous amounts of money for you to be sitting them down on the bench. But at least have those players who are specialists in those roles, who are actually natural in those roles, to come in and step in and do a job. And I think that's where Manchester City are slightly struggling a little bit. But it's like I said, man, like despite that, RB Leipzig, listen, they're not a bad team at all. They're not a bad team. In fact, their striker, Openda, Last season when he was at Lens, I was saying this guy could actually be a very good player. He looks like a serious problem, and he looks like a very clinical striker, and he looks like a very well-rounded one. So yesterday he went to prove that. He absolutely cooked Gvardio. I'm not sure what he was doing there. That was shambolic defending, but I can't really take much away from Mapenda though. But this is the Champions League though, Mo. Yeah, it's one of the most difficult competitions, the highest level of football, in my opinion. So these things are naturally going to happen, but they got the result in the end.
About Phil Foden, though, I asked a question. I asked a question that rattled a lot of people on Twitter. I said, who will have the bigger impact for their club? Is it Phil Foden for Manchester City or Cole Palmer for your beloved Chelsea? A lot of people said, how do you dare compare both? And I'm like, I'm not comparing both, even though I think Cole Palmer is talented as well. And I said, the reason why I said that is that I thought even yesterday, Phil Foden put in a 10 out of 10 performance, to be honest. That goal he scored by itself shows the talent that this kid has at his feet.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant. The question that I asked, and I want to ask you the same question, is Phil Foden just another guy? Like another one of Bernardo, Doku, Grealish, Alvarez, or he's levels above these guys? That's the question. The reason why I'm asking this question, because we're having this argument with Savva and the guys. And Savva saying, and Perchi, some of us are saying that Phil Foden should hold a position. Phil Foden should make a position his. At the moment, he hasn't. The argument back is that, is he actually that good in all these places that they need, that he can play him in all the positions, that he can give you a 10 out of 10? Or is he just good right winger behind the forward? He's up and down in form. Who do you think will have a bigger impact at their club this year? And also, why do you think Phil Foden hasn't held a position and make a position his until this moment, playing over 200 games for Manchester City?
Okay, so I'll start off with the first part of the question, which is who do I think will have the bigger impact on their clubs? Now, this answer is based on relativity and not necessarily the ability of each player. And you've also, and what I mean by relativity is that you've got to look at the squad that are around these players. So based on that, I do feel that Cole Palmer will have the bigger impact on Chelsea than what Phil Foden would for for these several reasons. Cole Palmer, when he's fit, is one of the first names that's always going to be on Mauricio Pochettino's squad. So and just the impact that he's made so far at Chelsea Football Club, although we are still underperforming massively, is undeniable. He has been one of the bright sparks in the Chelsea team, and it's rare to find that. Um, Phil Foden, he's in a Manchester City squad where there's really an abundance of talent around him. And he's finding himself in a very, I wouldn't say to this extreme, but in a situation where how Chelsea was years back ago, where like you could feel the second Chelsea team and you could argue this team could still finish in the top four. So in a squad like that, where it's just an abundance of talent, especially in the attacking positions, it's going to be harder for you to nail down a position, because once you've got so many talented players in one set area of the field, you can't always just pick your favorites. You got to now look at the tactical perspective and what tactical advantage each player has. That doesn't mean that one is worse or one is better than the other. Is now you have to revert to tactics to justify why you're leaving these top players out on the bench. So until Phil Foden, for me, escapes that situation, if that ever happens at Manchester City and he is a solid starter week in, week out, it's hard for me to really answer that question. But in terms of talent, there's no denial that Phil Foden for me he's levels above Cole Palmer. And that's not knocking Cole Palmer. That's not disrespecting Cole Palmer. Phil Foden's been playing, at the higher level for way longer than what
Years, just over
yeah,
200
exactly.
games in the first team.
This is
Like,
what I'm saying. So he's already got that top level experience for such a young age, and that's not a knock to Cole Palmer, because Phil is way further down the development line than what he is, and he's also got several years on him in terms of age as well. So these things are going to count. What was the second part of the question
it's
about
like,
Phil?
why doesn't he make a position his? And you answered that. You said because
Okay,
there's
okay.
too many players around that Is that because there is so many good players around at Manchester City?
I believe so. I believe so. And Pep Guardiola, what I like about him is he has tactical flexibility. You know what I mean? So, um, in one game where you want a attacker to go, one on one on his fullback or whatever, or to be getting in behind the lines, he might use a certain player. Or in another one where he wants a winger to, do that number 10 kind of role, but also drift out wide, he might use a different type of winger. And that's not to say that one is better than the other, or one is rubbish, or one is this, or one is that. It's just tactical preference for the game that you're playing. So that's where I feel that Phil Foden kind of he's in that situation because of the talent that is around that
Can I
Manchester.
ask you something then? So if that's the case, Phil Foden is 23 years old. He is one of the most talented English players at the moment. And I'm looking at Jude Bellingham, and that might be the reason why Jude Bellingham didn't go to Manchester City then. Jude Bellingham at Real Madrid now, and that's Real Madrid. And I'm with all due respect to Manchester City, with all due respect to a lot of clubs, this is Real Madrid. Yes, Manchester City might have more success at the moment, but if Phil Foden, the question was asked yesterday, Pep Guardiola isn't going to stay forever. Is it better for Phil Foden, who's been rotated around the positions and everybody else, as you guys explained, is it better for him then to go to a Bayern Munich and make a position his, a Real Madrid and make a position his, go to a Barcelona and make a position his? You know what I mean? Go to one of these giants as well. Yes, you won't have Pep Guardiola, but you already is developed under Pep. You won the treble. Yes, you want to stay and win everything. But if you go to Real Madrid and you hold that right winger position and you play week in, week out in world football, making that position yours, do you think that's better for his career and for the English national team as well? Going to Bayern Munich, playing right winger in the Bundesliga every week, Champions League, challenging Barcelona as well. Do you think that's better though?
I mean, of course, because you're going to be playing more football and you're going to be playing at the highest level. I mean, if he goes to Real Madrid now, who's on that right wing position? I believe
Nobody,
it's
Rodrigo. They actually don't have an
Rodrigo.
actual right winger.
Right.
Rodrigo isn't a right winger.
By the way, I really do. I like Rodrigo. I think he's a very, very good player. But when I look at Phil Foden and I look at Rodrigo, I think if Phil Foden was to get into that Real Madrid team, or he was to be signed by Real Madrid rather, he would start week in, week out in that right wing position, because that's, not for me, the number 10 and that right wing role for Phil Foden are more of his natural positions. You know what I mean? So definitely it would benefit him. Like I said, he'll be able to play week in, week out, and obviously if a player's playing football, then he's going to be looked upon favorably, especially at the top level. He's going to be looked upon favorably for his national team. So of course it would do him better. Absolutely.
I think people think of the idea of a player leaving Manchester City as crazy. You know what I mean? Like, you're crazy to leave the triple winners. You're crazy to leave a place like Manchester, which is, I think, is crazy, because I actually think that at the moment Manchester City have the biggest pull in the world, to be honest, just for the fact that they win. Does that make sense? And they have Pep Guardiola, who's the best coach around in the world. But again, people say, like, I'm having Daniel, one of my regular viewers and one of my members, of course, he's saying, Daniel, of course, we text on the side a lot. He's saying, but he starts every game now. Do you guarantee? And I'm sitting here and I'm telling you, I'm not saying he's leaving. People just don't understand that we're actually entertaining a hypothetical situation. People just don't understand how sometimes debates work. If Kevin De Bruyne is back, do we guarantee that Phil Foden is going to start every game? Or is it going to be Alvarez on the right, Bernardo sometimes on the right? That's the question. Yes, he starts every game now, and he's scoring goals, and he started yesterday. But yesterday he started behind the forward, though. Does that mean that's his best position? I believe that's his best position, behind the forward. I believe he's the long-term replacement for Kevin De Bruyne. I absolutely believe that he's an absolutely phenomenal player, that he has a lot of talent. He just needs to nail down a position and get used to that position. Because people don't understand, when you play football, and I played football, when you play one position for a long time, you know the ins and outs of it. No matter how talented you are, you need a position, because you know who you're facing, you know your body angles, you know all of this. And that's what I need from Foden, to be honest. And it's on Pep, to be honest. It's on Pep. He's using him in different positions. He has played over 200 games and he hasn't had a position fixed yet, like a lot of other players in that squad, by the way. But again, he has the talent of it. He's one of the most talented English players, and people get mad when we say you need to nail down a position. Anyway, people, over 200 people here, guys. Hit that like button for us. Get us to 100 likes. That's embarrassing, people. Savva bottled it. Yes, Savva bottled it, but he has an emergency. He has an emergency, and he couldn't make it. He apologizes, and it's just, life gets on the way sometimes. And I wish that he solves this problem, and well, he has to be honest, because sometimes something is bigger than YouTube. To be honest, people think that we sit here and we're rich and we don't have some other things to do. We absolutely do, guys, and just sometimes things get on that way. And I'm not sure, people just asking about Savva, but Guni's here with me, and we're having a fantastic show. People just asking because I still have Savva, by the way, in the thumbnail. I didn't have the time to remove him. Anyway, just a couple of people asked. Guni.
Back in the Matrix again. There he is.
Yeah, you did go to the Matrix, but you're back. You're back. You're back. I want to talk about Arteta before I move on to Chelsea. The reason why I want to talk about Arteta, because it's related to Manchester City. Top of the league, playing Lens at home today, might top the Champions League in his first time playing Champions League as a head coach for a football club. They lost a game, but they won against Sevilla home and away. Did they win home and away? I think they did. Anyway, they're top of the group anyway. So that's not they're top of the group. Why are people knocking him down though?
Because he hasn't won anything. That's why. There's always going to be question marks. There's always going to be doubters until you shut them up. And that's the way elite sports should be. You know what I mean? If you want the best for your club, you want to make sure that whoever you got is able to take you all the way. There's no use in being top of the table 93% of the season and then not winning it. These are just facts. There's no use on top in your Champions League group and then getting to the quarterfinals or the knockout stage and then you going out, because that's quickly forgotten. Nobody remembers those things by the end of the season. This is why people are knocking Arteta. And then on top of it, respectfully as well, on top of it, the fans don't help. There's this thing that, and it's not just Arsenal fans, it's something that is around the majority of clubs. As fans, we tend to get ahead of ourselves. We don't actually wait until we get to the finish line before we start giving the praises that are fully deserved. There's no such thing as, yeah, he's on top of the table, but hold your horses, just wait. Yeah, let's get to the finish line before we start showering praises onto this manager or whoever it may be. So, and people in the chat are saying, well, he's won the FA Cup, he's won the FA Cup. All right, fair play, he's won the FA Cup. But let me ask you this. How many elite players from around the world will say things like, oh, my dream was to join Arsenal because I've always wanted to win the FA Cup? Is that the first trophy that they mention? No, there's two trophies that they mention. I want to go to Manchester City. I want to go to Real Madrid because I dream of winning the Champions League. I dream of winning the La Liga or the Premier League. Why do they say these things? Because they've got a track record in doing so. Arsenal haven't done it for 20 years and counting now.
Okay, let me. Okay, I'm gonna counter back. Okay, I'm not saying he won things. However, this is his first managerial job. Okay, it's his first managerial job. He developed a lot of players and made them players on not only on the market, but made them. He brought players to the picture. You have a player from Arsenal nominated for the Ballon d'Or, even though he got top 10, top 20, whatever, Bukayo Saka. He developed William Saliba now. We're talking about William Saliba being one of the best defenders. Look at how Declan Rice is playing. Odegaard had an absolutely phenomenal season last year. Yeah, that is not a trophy, right? But a lot of other coaches in history, you needed to give them time, including Arsene Wenger, Sir Alex Ferguson, Jurgen Klopp, who came to Liverpool with a history of winning the league and reaching a Champions League final. Jurgen Klopp at Liverpool, that's not his first job. Arteta basically retired, learned a little bit from Pep, went to Arsenal, brought Arsenal back to the Champions League. They're almost today in the around the 16 of the Champions League in the first time. Yes, he finished 8th, 5th, or whatever, but at the end, he developed a player. Is he the question that we ask, is he the one to take them over the line now? Well, we'll never know if people are asking to sack him. You will never know. And he's going against the toughest coach in the world in league football, the toughest and the best league coach in the history of the sports, numbers wise. Not Alex Ferguson, not Ancelotti, not Arsene Wenger. Nobody has won more league titles in his career in that many years more than Pep Guardiola. Yes, he has the
For
better
Scotty.
teams. Huh?
Nah, see, you froze again.
It's you. You did.
Me? Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Agent
For
Smith is
me.
not with
Am I
people.
frozen, people? Who's free?
No,
Who's
you're
freezing?
back now. You're back now.
Okay, people in the chat. Who's the one who's going into the matrix? Is me or, because I don't know? Because of course, for me, I don't see me frozen. I see you. So maybe me. I don't know. Most connection okay. Oh.
Oh, so it's me. That's strange. I hope it doesn't mess. But anyway,
I
sorry.
know, I know. He thought like his team, he's turned the corner, but then it turned out he's and his connection is back. But he's turning an 18-wheeler only. It's not anyway. So that's my argument back about Arteta. Well, the reason why he is in Pochettino, he's in sitting 10th in the league now. He's still top of the league. Even if he doesn't win the league this year, the question should be, are you progressing from last year? It's not the question if you win anything else. Yes, you might sack him tomorrow and get Pep Guardiola, the only coach that is guaranteed a win to win you the Premier League, probably, most likely than not, is Pep Guardiola. Even Jurgen Klopp is not guaranteed. So the notion or the story that he should be sacked if he doesn't win the league, I think that's crazy, especially with the development he did for his team. Do you see my argument here?
I can see it. I fully see it. I see it. But some of those players that you mentioned, you have to remember the majority of them are actually Unai Emery signings.
Okay, yeah, but he developed them to be these guys.
All right, fair play, fair play.
Saka, you want to tell me that Unai Emery would have developed, and it might be. I'm saying the fact you are saying Unai Emery could have developed them. I'm saying the one who actually did that is Arteta. Is nobody else. I'm asking you now, do you think Arteta can take them over the line?
I said this last season, and I'm staying consistent this season. I believe Arteta was the manager to take them in and around the Premier League and major trophies, but I'm not convinced that he can cross the line. I'm just not. I think what needs to happen is for Arsenal, if they want to go on and actually win things, is unfortunately to get rid of this manager and get a manager who has been proven to be able to cross the line and actually win those trophies. Because I had this theory. People are gonna laugh in the chat, but I had this theory about Pochettino that potentially he could take us to a level where we're pushing up for, we're within the top 4 positions, we're getting closer to the league, and then he would have to make way and vacate the space and bring in a manager that has crossed the line and has done it before. But obviously, it's not looking that way. But I think that's the situation with Arteta. I mean, what he's done is, listen, what he's done for Arsenal is a good job. But at the end of the day, I'm sure the majority of Arsenal fans will tell you, at some point he has to win the league. At some point,
at some point, of course. But would you back any coach to win the league against Pep Guardiola in the world? That's okay. Let me a straight question, Guni. Who's the best team in the league?
Oh, Manchester City.
Who's the best coach in the league?
Oh, Pep Guardiola.
So why are we asking Arteta to win the league?
But is Arteta a better manager than Carlo Ancelotti?
No, of course not. What?
Right. So this is my thing. This is my thing. Is I know he's one of a few other managers that I can really think of off the top of my head. But
hold on, why did you mention these 2 names?
No, because I want to make a point. Is that now Arteta has got this team to where it is. If Carlo Ancelotti does come into Arsenal, then who do you think has the more probability to cross the line and win that league? Arteta or Ancelotti? Because it goes back to the point of me saying Arteta can take them there, but you need that manager to take over. And a name like Ancelotti has a more higher probability to do so. Am I wrong in saying that?
No, you're not. Absolutely not. However, we will never know until Arteta gets the fully chance to go. He just now got the players. Bukayo Saka, Martinelli, Declan Rice, William Saliba, and I can go in the names. Martin Odegaard, they just started to mature. People forget that Bukayo Saka is 22 years old. People
Yeah.
forget that Martinelli is 22 years old. Odegaard is 24. Declan Rice is 24. Right? Saliba is 22. People keep forgetting this. Are you telling me that if Ancelotti comes in, he's not going to ask for an experienced player here and there? He might.
No, of course you
Arteta
will.
is trying. My point is, we will never know until we give him the chance. Well, the chance again is, I get the probability thing and everything, but it's not a lot of coaches that will actually get you closer to Pep than Arteta did last year. And we'll see this year. And that's what I said, Guni. The question is, and my point is about Arteta and Arsenal. And I listen to Lee and I listen to Northside, right? Northside comes here weekly with me, right? And my argument back is always, if Arteta progresses this, and I'm asking you this question, remove your Chelsea hat and think as an Arsenal fan or someone from outside. If Arteta progresses this year and gets closer to Pep Guardiola, challenges for the league to the last week, goes far in the Champions League, gets to a quarterfinal, gets knocked out by Real Madrid by penalties or a goal, or gets to a semi-final, progresses this year, even though he made a terrible mistake by signing Kai Havertz, do you think they should sack him, even though he progresses this year?
It's a tough one because
Very
now,
tough.
because listen, I can't remove my personal opinion from this, and this is not me being a Chelsea fan. This is just how I think. Personally, I would not be happy if Arteta leaves with nothing this season, regardless of the stats, regardless of how many points off Manchester City he finishes, regardless of where he is in the where he ends up in the Champions League. Yeah, FA Cup, win that. Do you know what I mean? Because you need to show, because the real progression at this point is now starting to win trophies. Arsenal must win a trophy. There's no excuses. It's even, listen.
What do you mean must win a trophy? Okay. I asked you straight question. I said, are they better than Pep and Manchester City? Are they better than Bayern Munich? Are they the favorite? They are the, in my opinion, they're the sixth or the seventh team in the Champions League. How are we asking this question to win a trophy? Like, there is no logic to it. He spent money. Man City spent money as well. He spent money. Manchester United spent money as well. Chelsea spent money. So the money thing does not differentiate Arteta from everybody else. They're all spent money. But still, Pep Guardiola has the better team. Still, Real Madrid have the better team. Freaking Bayern Munich just spent 90 million pounds on a striker. He's one of the best striker the game has seen, probably in the last 20, 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't have the Arsenal. Did he fuck up the Havertz situation? Yes, he did. But that's one.
That's the thing.
So did Pep. Pep fucked up the Nunes and the Kovacic thing. He's not playing them. He's not happy. Manchester City fans are not happy with them. People make mistakes. Your coach made mistakes. Your best coaches made mistakes. Jose Mourinho made mistakes. Everybody does. But people want to slaughter him because he signed Kai Havertz.
No, but however, it's a thing where, yes.
Can I do so? Someone asked me, oh, I'm sorry, Bicky. I did not see your super chat. Sorry. Apologies, Mo. What team in England would you be most drawn to? Do you mind if I answer this?
Carry on.
Okay, Becky, I'm gonna tell you in short. Back in the days when I started actually watching the Premier League, it was gonna be Arsenal or Chelsea. But Chelsea, because of Mourinho, kind of at that time, because how he's the only one in the Premier League that came to the Premier League in the first year and won the league, and how he developed players. And I'm gonna, people don't know my opinion about it. I actually believe Mourinho developed tons of players in his lifetime. The likes of Drogba, Damien Duff, the likes of Arjen Robben, the likes of John Obi Mikel, Michael Essien. Like he made Ricardo Carvalho kind of came from Porto, so he developed him at Porto.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, true.
Now, people just say that he went to Chelsea and bought superstars right away, and I'm like, no. Chelsea under Ranieri before, they were good, but he made these guys world class. Like he made these guys world beaters. Like anybody would have loved to have a Drogba. Anybody would have loved to have a John Obi Mikel, Michael Essien, Makalili that came from Real Madrid. Anybody would have loved that. That's the people that. So I was drawn to Arsenal because Thierry Henry and Dennis Bergkamp for me were like ridiculous to watch. But I never supported one, and I will never support one because I support Inter from '98. So
Fair
it's never
enough.
gonna happen. Okay, but thank you for the super chat.
This is a very good comment here from Jardel Davis. Chelsea and Thomas Tuchel was not better than Manchester City, but yet still won the Champions League.
Okay, here we go. Here's the difference. Number one, the Champions League is played on very small and minor details. The Champions League, you can win the Champions League not being the best team there, right? That's why I'm saying anybody can win the Champions League. Arteta can win the Champions League. It's small details. Let me tell you how. The Champions League is played on small details. And also, we are in a very weak era in the Champions League, apart from Manchester City. And even Inter last year proved that you can play Manchester City. You can actually go toe-to-toe with them. Inter did. Inter had the better chances in the game.
They did.
But so I actually think that, yes, you can win the Champions League. But that's why I said, and hear me out, when I'm talking about Arsenal and the Champions League, I say you go out in the Champions League on the small details. You don't get smashed like Liverpool 5 at home yesterday. Because even Manchester City, they battered Real Madrid 2 years ago. Battered. You remember
No,
that
but
year?
the question,
You
no,
guys
the
did.
question was, is how can any team compete with a manager like Pep Guardiola? I'm not talking about, when you're talking about that, you're not just limiting it down to league, because is the Champions League not a major trophy?
It
Is that
is.
not a trophy that every
It
elite
is.
player wants to win?
100%.
So this is the thing. Like, when you're talking Pep is the greatest manager of all time, or one of them, which he definitely has a case for. 100% he does. Yeah, he definitely does have a case for it.
Yes.
Then he should. But this is the thing: is like, if you're just going to accept that going into games, you're never going to win anything. Thomas Tuchel had a much weaker squad and was still able to get it over the line with the Champions League. Now, I'm not comparing this. The UCL, it's a tournament competition. It's a knockout competition.
Yes.
I understand all those
You know,
things.
you were better than Real Madrid for like 80, like what, like 160 minutes, and you got knocked out or something. You remember in the Bernabeu, like 2 mistakes cost you the
Yeah,
game.
that
But
was it. Yeah, because yeah,
small
exactly.
details. That's it. The Champions League is different than the league. It's small details.
But these things can happen, and then also as well, right? I don't know how highly, where you rate Alex Ferguson in terms of
I
this
rate him
managerial
as
thing.
one of the best in the history.
Right. So there was when he was around, especially towards, like, I'd say the last 5, 6, 7 years of his career, there was a stint where Alex Ferguson just looked unbeatable, especially in England. And Pep, what's his name? Jose Mourinho came in, and he kind of changed the dynamics. Now, bear in mind, this was during the time where Manchester United still had their Paul Scholes, they had their Cristiano Ronaldo, they had their Rooney's, and they had their Tevez, and they're still able. And Manchester and Chelsea were still able to compete with that and win. So it's not like these managers can't be defeated. It's not like Pep is an invincible and he can't be defeated. It can happen. It can happen. You just need to. The things that need to happen is, obviously you need to get the right manager, but you also need to make sure that your recruitment is on point as well. And I feel like Arsenal, that's where it's also going to hurt them, and it's going to hurt Arteta. Their recruitment in terms of signing priority players hasn't been right. Yes, they've signed some very good players, and some very good players have developed, but we're in a point where, like, especially after last season, and this is Arsenal fans that I'm hearing from, are saying, well, we don't have the correct midfield depth, and we don't have an out-and-out number 9 striker that is going to be clinical. Why should they be in this position if they was on top of the league for 93% of the season last season?
Yeah. Listen, I'm with you. Okay. So you think if he doesn't win, that's it for him this year? That's it. I get it. I get it. I get the argument.
I didn't say that. I'm just saying, me personally, and I've always stuck to this. I've always said, I believe Arteta, especially after last season, his job to get them in and around the Premier League is really as far as he can push. That's just my opinion. And then I still stand on what I said. If another manager who's proven, been there and done it is available, go and get him. Some people in the chat will complain and say, oh, how could you mention this guy's name? I'll give you an example. I think Diego Simeone would be somebody that would be good as well. I honestly do. Because to be able to compete with that monopoly of Real Madrid and Barcelona, not so in terms of recent times, Barcelona have been, do you know what I mean? But like, to still be able to compete with that, and you know the politics around that, how all of the profits have been shared in La Liga. I don't know if that's changed, but he was around ever since those times, and he was still able to win a league and do these things here. That's why this is another name for me. I ain't gonna lie. I ain't gonna lie.
Oh my god.
I know people
Oh
say this man.
my
People will say this man
god.
plays satanic football. This guy does this or whatever. Cool, cool. But he's proved himself in one of the most difficult situations in football.
I'm supposed to be one of the biggest Simonis, being an Inter fan, and him and all the links with Inter, and he's the next coach for Inter and stuff. I just don't like the guy. I absolutely dislike the guy. I just don't like how he articulates himself. I don't like how he sit on the touchline sometimes. How he is very nervous. Well, but I respect him. He won the league in I think the second year after he came in. I think I won the league twice, reached 2 Champions League finals. That's not easy to do with Atletico Madrid being in La Liga. To be honest, it's not. I get what you're saying. Maybe that's the answer. I guess we'll see. I want to now go to two coaches, Pochettino and Ange Postecoglou. Why they aren't under pressure though? Postecoglou is doing all right. He did 8 games, so I can understand that. Why your guy is not under pressure? Why everybody is clapping? Cole Palmer doing good. Levi Colwell is doing good. Look at Conor Gallagher. This is Chelsea Football Club. Spent all this money, and I'm not saying you should be challenging for the league, because if we are blind and I get someone who doesn't know the Premier League or doesn't know the circumstances, and I tell him, by the way, there was a team that were 12th last year, sold most of their players, and spent $1 billion, yes, on youngsters, yes, on future stars, right? And his coach is sitting 10th, and he's up and down, and his fans celebrate when he draws at home to big teams,
Ridiculous.
even though they are supposed to be big teams. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
What would you think people tell me?
Well,
and I'm not saying you should challenge for the league.
I can only
at least give me top 4, right?
I can only speak for myself, and I'll speak for my opinion. Pochettino certainly doesn't help himself in terms of the decisions that he makes. 100%, I will say that. However, the bigger problem is not necessarily Pochettino. You've got to look at the people that are implementing this project, this quote-unquote project. You've got to look at the recruitment team that are making the decision to sign players that are under 25 years old, and they're looking at their potential and where they could be in 3, 4, 5 years' time. It's making us suffer right now in the now. You're signing players that barely have any experience at the top level when you're expecting them to come in. I'm talking over 10 players at a time, revolutionize a new squad, and for them to be going straight ahead to be getting top 4 or to be competing, which is ridiculous. It's unrealistic. When you sign wonder kids, right? Let's say you sign 10 wonder kids, or quote unquote wonder kids, as people like to call them. The reality is, if you're lucky, 2 of them will get to the level that you expect. Chelsea have signed all of these young players, expecting the majority of them to have a linear trajectory upwards like this. That's not how football works at all. And this is what we've done at Chelsea Football Club. The project doesn't work. It doesn't work. And and just going back to Pochettino, when you're fielding the squad and when something's working, right? Why is there always a chop and change? Why do you always have to try and reinvent the wheel to do something different? Why is there not any team cohesion? Why is there not any given period of time where you know your first 11? Granted, yes, I know there's been injuries, but when the majority of your team's available, or who should be first team players week in, week out, why are they not playing together on a consistent basis? There's so many things that are just wrong about Chelsea Football Club. But for me, the main thing is it's not entirely the manager. It's the policy. The policy is what is killing us. This Youth FC project is not going to work. It's not.
No, but it's not changing. Just this is the reality. Is Guni. It's not. You're a Chelsea fan. You won't change your club today. It's not changing. They're not gonna sell the club. They aren't gonna sell the club. Like, just no. Like, this is not the Glazers. You can protest. You can pressure them. They're not gonna sell it. They're not the Cronkies. You know what I mean? Todd Bowley at least will get his 5-10 years ownership, right? You agree with that? So it has to be something else. You know what? You'll have to go down a little bit in management and find the solutions there. So what do you think the solution is? Because he has people underneath him. He's not going to change now. The ownership just changed. It's as simple as that.
The policy, the ownership doesn't have to change. The policies do. I stand by that. I stand by that very strongly. The policies do. Because again, listen, you're paying 100 million, however, or 80 something million for Mudryk. I can't even remember the price. It makes me sick. And then you've still got managers. Well, Lampard himself, he said, listen, this guy's got excellent attributes, but he hasn't got a footballing IQ. He has not played at the highest level for the longest period of time. So why are you spending that much money on that player? How many games has Mudryk played at the top level before we splashed out that price tag? Nicholas Jackson, we're asking this guy to be our main number 9. How many games at the top level has this guy had? It's these, even Cole Palmer, he stepped in and done very well. Fair play to him. But at the top level, how many games has this guy had?
600 minutes in the Premier League for Manchester City.
This is my point. As Enzo, for example,
8 games, by the way.
Enzo, for example, I think he's a very talented individual, but he's not performed at the level that I've expected him to perform. But let's have it right. Before he came to Chelsea, how long was he at Benfica, and where was he before then?
In Brazil, I guess, in Benfica, half a season or a season.
Right. This is my thing. As much as I rate Romeo Lavia, we haven't even seen him play yet, by the way. But what's his top level experience? Southampton for how long?
Not a lot.
Levi Colwill. What level of
Lavia is 1 year. Lavia is youth team Manchester City. Southampton relegated 1 year. Like that's it.
Okay, Levi Colwill. This guy's the wonder kid. Whatever. How much top level experience did he have? He had a loan at Brighton. Now he's in the Chelsea first team.
That's it. Yeah,
these are Sanchez, right? For me, I don't even rate this goalkeeper. Well, how many Champions League games has he?
I don't think even your manager rates your goalkeeper.
He does. Well, he shouldn't. He shouldn't. But the board are coming out and they're saying ridiculous things like this guy could potentially be a world-class goalkeeper. And anybody with 2 brain cells can see that this guy is absolute rubbish. But again, how many years at the top level has this guy played? I'm talking Champions League football and competing for Premier Leagues and all this kind of stuff. You see, when you've got a concoction of all these things, how do you expect to be pushing at the top level and even fighting for European positions? Because I can name so many teams that have a better squad than us currently. If we're talking in about 5, 6, 7 years, that's a different story. But we're not there now.
But do you know what I said that in the beginning of the season, and people just said that I have an agenda against Chelsea, which is I do, against the project, not Chelsea Football Club, right? I said for the good of football, this project has to fail. Otherwise, anybody would just go splash that much money and try to find loopholes. People said you have an agenda. I'm like, even Chelsea fans that have brains, even Chelsea fans that have a little bit of a sight, a future, they will tell you, you cannot win with youngsters only. You need experience. You cannot just go on. What Chelsea did, and I said that in the beginning of the season, Todd Bowley tried to replace building a youth system with buying young players, hoping that one of them will bang to pay for the rest of them. That makes it. Instead of developing players in the youth system, what he did is go to Brazil, find the best talent. Go to Portugal, find the best talent, buy all this young talent, 19, 20 years old, hoping that one of them will bang, and then you will sell them for 100 million, or they will bang and be the next superstar in the world football. Well, sometimes that doesn't work. What if none of them bang? You're stuck with an 8-year contract with them. You're literally stuck with them.
And this is the point that I was making when I started speaking is, when you sign these players that have this potential to be world class, or so you think, yeah, you're lucky to get 1 or 2 that become that out of 10. I've seen this so many times before. The next big things I've seen, Charlie Musonda, although he had an injury, Lucas Pizon, who's
I'm sorry, who
these are guys from the past. The Mateo
Oh, okay.
Kesman,
I'm a take Kisman,
well,
I know.
all of these guys. But this is the thing: is like the trajectory in football is never guaranteed. It's not linear like this. When it
Yeah.
comes to youth players, it doesn't work like that. So now you're trying to buy all of these players and hope for the best that they get to that level where they're all good enough. They all have the cohesion within a couple of seasons, and it doesn't work like that. You have to buy, and this is another thing that I will say, right? It's not strictly down to age. Experience and age, they are not always. They're not always. It doesn't always matter because listen, you can have a 23-year-old with bags of experience. Kylian Mbappe, for example.
Phil Foden has bags of
Phil
experience.
Foden is another one. Bags of it. Even Bukayo Saka, for example,
Yeah,
and these
because
guys,
yeah,
they've
of
been
course.
playing for years. They've got the experience. They've got the
Jude
know-how.
Bellingham has had 3 years on him in the German league
This
with
is what I'm
Borussia Dortmund.
saying.
Yeah,
But the young experience that we have now are
yeah.
also finding themselves in challenging situations that they've never been in before. And they don't know how to tackle the issue because they've not been there before.
Yeah. I get what you're saying, and I don't know. So, what's the target for this guy? Like, I'm being serious. You're sitting 10th now. Yes, you're 10 points, 12 points behind top four. What's the target, and what are the consequences if he doesn't achieve the target? Because okay, I'm going to talk about myself, and I'm not a Chelsea fan from outside. You'll have to get this top five thing that might get you to Champions League. Otherwise, I think the guy should get sacked because I believe if as you said about Arteta, the difference between Arteta is progressing. If this guy doesn't progress this year in terms of like you need to get Champions League football, get somebody else that might get you Champions League football next year because he won't be able to handle the pressure at Chelsea, Mauricio Pochettino, and he's not handling the players well. He doesn't know his starting lineup until this moment. He doesn't know the best players to play.
That's a problem. And those managerial problems, yes, and that's what I pointed to is, still doesn't know his first team. Granted, listen, Nkunku might be a mainstay in his first team, but by no means am I saying he's the savior of Chelsea, like many other Chelsea fans are
It
saying.
might be though.
Yeah, I'm not saying that's the case. We haven't seen Romeo Lavia. We don't know how he's going to perform at Chelsea. So there's a couple of players that we are yet to see. But me being honest, looking at the picture holistically, because I can't just look at the manager. When I look at this squad of 25 players or however many players are in this squad, and I
52,
look at
something like
and
that.
I look at other teams that are around us, we're not better than the majority of these teams that are currently above us. We don't have a squad better than Manchester City. We don't have a squad better than Liverpool. We don't have a squad better than Arsenal. We don't have a squad better than Newcastle, in my opinion. Bruv. So where am I going to get the faith that we're going to be finishing in any of these European positions? I don't have the faith in the slightest.
I don't know what to tell you, but to be honest with you, I actually thought you turned the corner. You played well against Newcastle in the first half, but then some mistakes cost you the game, completely cost you the game. I thought you turned the corner. The problem is we're now talking about, well, you turned the corner, now you need to win games. You just don't need to draw games. You need to win games convincingly. And that's why I don't know who you have in the next couple of games, to be honest with you. But I'm looking at Chelsea and I'm thinking, well, if comes December or comes January and you're freaking sitting 10th, I think that warrants a sack.
Right,
Literally, you should just get sacked.
what's
Your
this?
next Brighton, Man United, Everton away, and then Sheffield United.
What's this? Do I think that we're going to beat Brighton at home? I'm not optimistic about that. Do I think we're going to beat Manchester United away? I'm not optimistic about that. Do I even think we're going to beat Everton away? These are the Premier League games, by the way. I'm not optimistic about that. Do I think we'll beat Sheffield United? I think we'll get 3 points against them. Do I think we'll beat Wolves away? I'm not optimistic about that. Do I think that we're going to beat Crystal Palace at home?
Yes.
I'm not optimistic about that. Do I think we'll beat Luton away? Liverpool struggled against Luton, so why should I be optimistic about that? So tell me.
Comes January, you're sitting 11th or 12th. Pochettino has to get sacked. There is no patience. I have this thing about top clubs. There is no patience when you're 10th or 11th, when you're at Chelsea, Arsenal, Liverpool, even Spurs, Manchester United. There is no patience. Manchester United, at their crisis at the moment, they are 2 points behind the top five people in their crisis.
Exactly.
2 points. And and I said it, Manchester United don't look as good as Chelsea, but at the end, this is a business results. Chelsea need to win freaking games. Pochettino need to win games. I don't know how. It's not my problem. And a Chelsea fan, it shouldn't be your problem. Talking about progression and talking about, yeah, but look at how Caicedo is developing. Oh my
It's
God,
not.
look
No,
at Cole Palmer scoring penalties. Oh, looking good on the eye. Okay, Burnley, by the way, they look so freaking good when you watch them under Vincent Company. They play so brilliant, but they don't win the games and they're sitting bottom of the Premier League. Would you like to be Burnley though? So for the Chelsea fans and for the people that say, I would like to play good football and as long as I'm playing great football, I'm all right. Well, Burnley play one of the best football in the bottom half. They pass
bro.
the ball, they create chances.
Give me boring Chelsea, as they used to say, but us winning stuff all day long, all day long. Remember what they used to say about Mourinho?
Yeah.
Boring football, but they'll get the win at the end. But they'll lift the trophy at the end of the season. Give me that all day long,
I said that.
all
That's
day
why I
long.
like Antonio Conte. Freaking give me Antonio Conte. Won me the league the first time. Won you the league the first year. Change Juventus completely. Someone who changes things. Yes, you don't like him. Yes, he's a troublemaker, but the man is a winner. The man doesn't accept anything but win. The man says there's only one winner and 19 losers in the league. He literally said that when Inter were second.
Facts.
He said that. He said there is 19 losers and one winner. He said they asked him, "You go out in the Champions League." He said, "I go out in the Champions League, but at the end, there's only one winner of the Champions League." I like this, even though I don't like how Conte, especially like does things after like he wins something and cause problems. But at the end, I get what people are saying about Arteta that he should get sacked. I'm not asking Pochettino to win the league, but at least put in a fight for top four. At the moment, you aren't. You're
We're not,
accepting
and we're not going
mediocrity.
to. We're not going to. We're definitely not going to. And people are saying then Simeone is your guy, Goonie. Well, this is the thing: is Simeone is not going to step into Chelsea under these conditions. He's not. No right manager in their mind would, who want to protect their reputation. They just wouldn't.
There is a super chat here from EMMC saying Ferguson was a third-rate fraud. He thrived on corruption. What?
Goodness me.
Intimidating and buying off the competition. There is no proven GDB managers on the market.
What a
I
ridiculous.
am actually reading your super chat at the moment. You're literally called Sir Alex Ferguson a fraud. The
Ridiculous.
man who won the Champions. So let me answer that, please. The man who won the Champions League with Darren Fletcher, John O'Shea, Wes Brown as right back, John O'Shea as right back, and Wes Brown in the middle. The man that made Ryan Giggs, the man that made David Beckham, the man that made Dennis Irwin, the man
Or
that made
skulls.
Paul Scholes. He literally coached them to be the players you're talking about them today. Did he win in Fergie time or whatever? Yes, he did. But that's because he has fire in his team. That's because he made his team play for the last minute, like Mourinho used to tell his players. This is absolutely a ridiculous take, MMC. And I respect you as a super chatter. I respect you as a viewer. But go watch. All I'm going to tell you, I was 10 years old in Saudi Arabia in 1994. Premier League was nowhere to be seen around the world, nowhere to be seen. There was only one club that had a program weekly, and I didn't know Manchester United at that time. It was the team that had Sharp on him, and it was only the Red Devils, Manchester United. Around the world, there was only one team in England that used to be known that much. Arsenal after that, 96 and something, but 94, 93, and before that, 92, it was Manchester United, the class of 92. To call that manager a fraud, I think is a crime. I actually think is a crime against football. The guy, you think that Darren Fletcher was, with all due respect, the man played against the mighty Chelsea with really players that you wouldn't take in your team right now. With all due respect to some of these players. Oh my God! Do you remember
This
the
man
Fabios, the
on
Fabios brother, Fabio, and what's his name? The other guy,
Raphael.
Rafa. Oh my God! These guys were so average, and he made them great.
13 Premier League titles, you know, and this is what this guy said.
Stop this cap. Stop. I'm not sure how old you are, to be honest. I'm not sure how old you are, but I'm old enough to watch Manchester United play football that is good and a winning mentality football. Yes, Mourinho, that rivalry with Mourinho, I enjoyed that between 2004 and 2008 before Mourinho got sacked. That was ridiculous. So stop that. This is absolutely ridiculous, ridiculous take. But yeah, we'll go back to Pochettino because I got headache from this. But oh my god, no.
No, but yeah, the Pochettino situation is, you know, for me, it's a case of whatever manager that you bring in, outside of, I just think they're just going to face the majority of the similar problems that he's facing, 100%. I think if you bring in, you know, I'm hearing whispers around the ones that won Pochettino out. I'm hearing them saying, well, Hansi Flick is available. I like him as a manager. But how much better do I think he's going to do than Pochettino with this policy in place? I don't think that much better. Do I think he's going to get us in the top 5? I don't think he would do that. I don't.
I'm not sure who to come in at Chelsea and fix it at the moment. I actually thought that Pochettino is the right man for the job, developing young players. And the question would be, is he the guy to take you over the line? He didn't do it with Spurs, even though he reached a Champions League final. But is Pochettino the right man for the job? He was at that time because he was the guy to develop these young players. If you want to go down that route of buying young players, yes, he is the right man. But I don't know what happened. Why you're not winning games? Why everything is stuck? Why you're choosing the wrong players? Why are you changing the formation every game? Is that because of injuries? You have a style of play and you look good. You have ball position, but you win the games when you don't. That means there's something wrong in your style. That's something wrong in your tactics that you need to fix. But I don't know what to say about Chelsea other than how the mighty have fallen, in my opinion.
That's a fact. That's a fact. This is why I'm not really fully focusing my blame on the manager. I'm looking at the recruitment team and I'm looking at the ownership.
Yeah,
That's
I
the
don't know
bottom
what
line
to
for
say
me.
about Chelsea. Yeah, but this youth young player spending that much money, the project have to fail. Guys, we're 30 likes away from 200 people, 350 people watching here. Get the likes up, people. And moving on to Ange Postecoglou, though, the last part of the show, 2 minutes. Is it a bubble, or you believe it's an actual style, good thing that can develop and can come good in the future?
Too early to say for both questions. Too early to say. For me, I like to give a certain space of time before I make these decisions. I'm not one that make a decision after 3 games, 4 games, 5 games. I can't do that. That's just not in me. I like to see a bit of longevity before I make a decision. He started off very well, even in that period where he started off very well. I wasn't even one of those, you know, fans that was getting. I'm not a Tottenham fan, but I wasn't even getting carried away because I've seen things like this happen before. I've seen teams right high at the top of the table between September and November, and then it drops off. I've even seen my own team do it, where they've been top of the table from September, August, all the way down, all the way to December, and then a capitulation happens. So this is why I don't speak too early. I'm not doing that anymore. So with Ange, of course, he's come in. He's put in an exciting brand of football that got them results at the beginning of the season when they had their full strength team available. But football is just not. We've said this many times. Football is not just about your first 11. A football is a squad game. It's about the players that you can bring on the pitch once your top players are injured to continue that. How you manage that situation. And right now, 3 losses on the bounce. Of course, it's no good. They're now sitting in 5th place, I believe, off the top of my memory. Of course, it's not looking good. But can I say that he's, you know, this short stint that he's had he's been a shit show or he's been absolutely amazing? No, I can't. I've got to be asked this question towards the end of the season, towards nearer to May. That's when I've got to be asked this question.
So he should be given time. Ange Postecoglou should be given time. But you don't have the same energy for Pochettino, who spent more money.
Oh, well, it's 2 different situations altogether.
Why?
Because Tottenham have actually got a model that is proven and that actually works. Chelsea have got a model that
Only
doesn't.
13 games. What model?
No, no, no. Forget about the amount of games that I played. I'm talking about club policy here now. Chelsea have got a model where they're signing under 25 and under 25 kids with either some experience or minimal experience, and they're expecting them to go and punch with the best.
So that's
Tottenham
not
don't have that.
Pochettino's fault. But so Pochettino takes no blame here.
No, but you've heard me say that there's some things that he does.
I agree with you.
Help.
Then I agree with you. I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm with you here. I'm gonna stay with you. If both coaches finish 7th and 8th, okay,
It's not good
whoever
enough.
for both.
It's not. No, it's not good enough. It's not good enough.
Bear with me,
then,
Guni. I'm going somewhere. I'm going somewhere with this because I like to get at the end. The answer is: should Spurs have the same standards as Chelsea Football Club? This is where I'm going.
Right now, no. I think Spurs should be expecting to finish above Chelsea because of how Chelsea are doing now and what they're implementing now. If we're talking about the now, then if I'm Spurs manager, I'll be looking at Chelsea being like, we should be clear of these guys.
So you think if both finish within touching distance from each other, is that a failure for Spurs?
Well, I think if Chelsea finish within a touching distance of Tottenham, then we're gonna have to go on a very good run, and Tottenham are gonna have to continue a poor run of form.
You actually are just 10 points behind them. They have Manchester City coming up against Manchester City. You can be closer to them at that time. They have West Ham, and then they have Newcastle. They can lose all 3 games.
But what have I said to you about the run of fixtures that we have? Remember, I told you we've got who? We've got Brighton next. Yes. I cannot put my hand on my heart and say we're going to win that game.
No,
we've got Manchester United away. I already said I've got no optimism in winning that game.
And Everton away. Yeah.
I told you I've got no optimism in winning this game. So you see where I'm coming from.
I see. My point is the question is not about Chelsea. The question is about Spurs. My point is you can look at Spurs from 2 sides. Ange Postecoglou lost 3 games on the bounce because he got injuries, which is fair enough.
Yeah.
You can sit there and say, well enough, you played very, very good 10 games. In the beginning of the season, you looked absolutely phenomenal. You were top of the league or something, or second. But now you lost 3 games on the bounce. We'll give you a chance. But what if you lose the next 2-3 games as well? Now you'll be 5 games on the bounce losing. Should we just say and clap the way you play football, or do we ask you for results? Because Spurs fans, they wanted the opposite of Antonio Conte and the Jose Mourinho's, where they didn't like the boring football. Now, Ange Postecoglou doesn't play boring football. He absolutely plays an amazing brand of football that's very good and entertaining. But should he change it? Should they have changed it in the last 2 games?
I think so. I think he needs to. Do you know what? Based on you saying that, I think if he doesn't show any tactical flexibility to accommodate what he has available to him, obviously with injuries considered or suspensions, whatever considered, then obviously those kind of naive mistakes are completely unacceptable. 100%. Then he's gonna have to. Then eventually, if the run of games are not good or they yield bad results, and it's down to his tactical decisions, then yeah, the question has to be asked.
Anyway, listen, people. I want to thank Guni for being up. This has been one of my best shows I've done on this channel, and I've done a lot on this channel, almost close to 100 shows now on this channel. Guni, what a brilliant show. Thank you so much for giving me the time and blessing me with your appearance. Absolutely brilliant guy. Man Knows Football in the description. Go give the guy a subscription, please. Like his last video or last 10. Please. He promises to get the channel up and running again regularly. He promised me. He promised a lot of people to do that. We're going to try to push him to do that. We're going to try to help him to do that regularly, daily content about Chelsea and all the other things.
Work is killing me, man.
I
need a free Goonie campaign, man, because work is absolutely slaughtering me. So like honestly, man, every time I go to want to make a video, you know how it is. I get called. Listen, this engineer's not able to come in, or we don't have an A mechanic, we need you to come in and sort this out. And I have to go and do it. So this is what's really killing me. But I'm trying, people, I'm trying. This is my passion. I love it. I love to talk football. I miss doing this. I miss uploading on my own channel. But like, bear with me, stick with me. I'll be back. I promise you on everything, I will be back.
Yeah. People, stay on the show. It will take you 2 months. Big Six bands. Will he talk about Newcastle? He will talk about the rest. It's a great channel. Stay in here. But also give Guni a subscription, please, for me. And also turn on the freaking notification bell. Okay? I'm going live today at 11 p.m. Match reaction for Manchester United, Galatasaray, and Arsenal top in the group. People are going to say I'm an Arsenal fan, even though people said I'm an Arsenal hater. But let's see. People, thank you so much for tuning in. Appreciate everyone that stayed here with me. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Guni. Appreciate you. And guys, tomorrow, turn on notification bell. I have Lewis and Hussam on here, 2 p.m. or 1:30. Thank you, people. 200 likes is the goal. Get the likes up. We'll see you guys later. We're out.
Southgate out.